Let's talk about HMRC, the UK's tax authority. For a lot of people, it's just this big, intimidating black box. But what if you could get an insider's guide on how they really work, especially now, in the age of big data? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're cracking the code. We'll look at their incredibly powerful tools, the tough new penalties, and most importantly, how you can navigate the whole thing. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with the million-dollar question, right? How much does HMRC actually know about your finances? I mean, if you think it's just what you put on your tax return, well, you might want to think again. The truth is, they know far, far more than most of us would ever expect.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to peek inside HMRC's incredible data machine. Then, we'll see who's actually pulling the levers on these investigations. After that, we'll dive into the harsh new world of offshore penalties, pinpoint the specific schemes in their crosshairs, and then, the important part, we'll map out the best way to stay on the right side of things.
Okay, first up, HMRC's all-seeing eye. And trust me, this isn't some kind of science fiction. It's the reality of how tax is collected today, and it's all powered by a data machine that is truly, truly formidable.
At the very heart of this is a supercomputer they call Connect. Now, this thing's been around for over a decade, but it's not just sitting there. It's constantly learning, growing smarter, getting more powerful every single day. This is the engine that HMRC uses to sift through literally billions of data points, looking for patterns, anomalies, and of course, red flags.
To really get a sense of the scale here, just look at that number. Connect holds over 55 billion items of data. Let that sink in. That is more information than is stored in the entire British Library. This isn't just a database, it is a colossal intelligence-gathering operation.
So where on earth does all this data come from? Well, it's a massive web. You've got the obvious stuff, right? Land registry, UK bank data. But Connect also scrapes information from online marketplaces like eBay, crypto exchanges like Coinbase, even your public social media profiles. And here's the kicker. It automatically pulls in financial data from over 126 countries. It's literally weaving a digital spiderweb of your entire financial life.
Okay, so HMRC has all this incredible data. But then what? Who actually acts on it? Let's take a look inside the investigation machine itself.
You can basically think of HMRC's investigation arm as having two main tiers. Most of the routine stuff, the kind of letters that most people might get, they come from these large directorates that focus on individuals and businesses. They handle a super high volume of cases. But for the really serious stuff, the major allegations of fraud and evasion, that's when you meet the Elite Fraud Investigation Service, or FIS. These are the heavy hitters. We're talking about inspectors who might only focus on a handful of really complex cases at a time. All right, now for a really critical shift in the rules. The offshore penalty trap. Seriously, if you have any overseas assets or income at all, you need to listen closely, because the entire landscape has changed. The era of gentle encouragement, that's over, officially. And you can see that shift so clearly right here. HMRC's approach has gone from the carrot to the stick. The carrot was things like the old Liechtenstein disclosure facility, which offered immunity and a pretty low penalty. Then we had a transition period. But now, we are firmly in the age of the stick, with these really severe failure to correct penalties. So what does this actually mean in practice? In the past, penalties were usually based on your behavior. Was it just a careless mistake, or was it deliberate? Now, look at today. Under these failure to correct rules, that whole distinction is just gone. The minimum penalty is 100% of the tax you owe. And if HMRC is the one that has to send you a letter first, that minimum jumps to a staggering 150%. The key thing to get your head around here is that this is a strict liability penalty. What that means is, for older offshore tax issues, it's triggered simply because there's tax owed. Your intent, it's completely irrelevant. That old defense of, I didn't mean to, it was an honest mistake, yeah, that's gone. It's no longer a defense.
And just when you think it can't get any tougher, it does. Normally, HMRC can only look back 4 or maybe 6 years. But for offshore matters, they now have up to 12 years to investigate. Just think about that for a second. Your window to make things right has shrunk, while HMRC's window to find those mistakes has absolutely ballooned.
So, with all this data and all this power, where is HMRC focusing its firepower right now? Let's shine a spotlight on the specific avoidance schemes that they're really going after.
They are cracking down hard in a few key areas. For property investors, certain hybrid partnership structures are directly in the crosshairs. For businesses, schemes that use things like prepaid cards to basically funnel expenses back to owners, those are being aggressively taken apart. And it's not just the people using the schemes. HMRC is also going after the advisors and promoters who sell them in the first place. But, and this is a really important but, amidst all this tough enforcement, a former HMRC inspector gives us a key piece of insight. As he says here, HMRC's goal isn't just to hunt people down. They would much rather people just come forward voluntarily. And why is that? Well, it's more efficient for them, and as we're about to see, it leads to a far better outcome for you, the taxpayer.
Which brings us perfectly to our final and, honestly, our most important section, navigating towards compliance. Knowing everything we've just talked about, what is the smartest, most sensible path forward? The proactive path forward is actually a pretty clear 3-step process. Number 1, review. Take a really honest look at your affairs. Do you have any offshore assets? Did you ever use a scheme that's now under the microscope? 2, get advice. Find a professional, a specialist who knows this stuff inside and out. And 3, the most crucial step, disclose. Consider making a voluntary disclosure before that dreaded brown envelope from HMRC ever lands on your doormat.
And you know what? Right now, the government is actually offering a new incentive to do exactly that. It's called the Temporary Repatriation Facility, or TRF. And for a limited time, it gives people a chance to bring previously untaxed foreign income back to the UK and settle up at a much lower tax rate.
And this chart just shows you how powerful that incentive is. I mean, look at the difference. Income that could have been taxed at 45%, maybe even more, can now, under the TRF, be settled for just 12%. This is a very clear, very deliberate signal from the government saying, come on, come forward and let's get this sorted now. So if you remember just one single thing from all of this today, let it be this. Being proactive and making a disclosure is almost always the better path. It means lower penalties, it means you have more control over the process, and ultimately it is far cheaper and a heck of a lot less stressful than waiting for an investigation to start. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. In a world of digital footprints, of global data sharing, where HMRC's all-seeing eye is just getting more and more powerful every single year, is hoping for the best really a viable strategy anymore? I think, based on what we've seen today, the answer to that is pretty clear. Thanks for joining us.